Hi, Prema Gurreri, Vedic Astrologer, Soul Advisor, and author of Your Sacred Wealth Code. And I'm really thrilled to be with you today. I'm talking about the energy of Saturn in Capricorn. This is Vedic Astrology and the power of commitment that it brings. This is a trend that's going to be with us for the next 3 years, 2020, really up to 2023. And lots about commitment, our limitations, hitting our limitations, how to avoid those, the pressures of time, and how it's important for us to really know what to focus on so that we can bring our inspirations down to earth here. So I'm going to talk to you about all of this and how this will affect you in this video today. If you're new to my channel, subscribe, click the bell notification. I create 2 or 3 videos a week to keep you updated on the energy and how you can best navigate it to understand yourself and really create the life that you're meant for. All right, so let's get into this energy of Saturn. Saturn is an incredible planet. It brings, and a feared planet by many, but I don't want you to fear Saturn. I want you to understand it's an incredibly spiritual planet. What it wants for you, you need to know this. It wants for you to realize that you are energy, you are spiritual. We must walk with a foot in each world, but we can't become so attached because we can't take any of this with us. And it's this crazy game, right, that we're called to live, remembering the energy, the spiritual being that we are, and to live here full out, even though it's for a relatively short period of time. Eternally, we go on, but right here and right now, we bump up into the limitations of the physical world. And Saturn helps us to see that for some really good reasons. Saturn wants us to commit, and especially over the next 3 years, super important to commit and to know what to commit to. Let's remember, when we commit and really commit, that's what it takes to create and bring our inspirations, our ideas down to earth here. That's where the universe can rally behind you and unseen forces can come in and really support what you're committed to. But it's important that you're committed to what makes your heart sing, what's really in your purposeful path. Otherwise, you are going to feel like you are doing some serious heavy lifting, and I don't want that for you. So you must be committed to something that inspires you and inspires you enough to put the time, to put the energy into it, to bring it into full fruition. Because you see, Saturn wants you to go all the way through with the creation of something, whether it's in your business, whether you're writing a book, whether you are creating a long-term relationship, whether you're working on your health, healing, whatever it is. And Saturn wants you to go all the way through. It is not a quick moving planet, so the energy of it is not quick, but it's very, very thorough. And Saturn sometimes takes a long time to deliver, so people get discouraged about that. But know this, if you're on your purposeful path and you're attending to your choices and you're committed, Saturn will always pay you with interest in the end if you stay that purposeful path. So again, I'm talking in Vedic astrology, the sidereal zodiac. Saturn is in Capricorn. And what it's meaning for you is that it's asking you to commit to something and be very clear that it's something that's really yours to commit to, that you're willing to put the energy because the energy is going to give you what you need to be able to focus and to be able to attend to the details, put the time, put the energy in to actually bring it into fruition. So again, if you've chose something that's really not your thing, or you don't want to choose anything to really commit to, you have commitment issues, you need to clear that stuff up. You need to work with, you need to do some clearing on those issues, uncover those limiting beliefs so that you can get here in the present moment, because you're in this paradigm for a reason. We are at a shift of the age, and it is time for us all to take our rightful place and step into our rightful gifts. And I believe that your soul blueprint, your Vedic astrology chart, your soul blueprint, that you feel it already. And I'm always interested in helping you to understand what the energy is that you're feeling already. So here's what's most important for you to know and how it's going to affect you. I'm going to break each of these points down. So hang in here with me, okay? This will be really useful for you. So one of the big focuses of Saturn, one of the big thing that it teaches us is it teaches us about our limitations. And why is that so important? I mean, you may not really want to know about your limitations, but the fact is that we have limitations in the physical world. Again, energetically, frequency level, eternally, we are flexible. We are here for eternity. And we have no limits on the energy side, but the physical side does. You can get to, you can only work so long, stay up so late. You have to sleep. You can only eat so much, but you can't go without eating for too long. You can only carry so much. We have limits here in the physical world. So why that's important is your physical limitations. You need to be aware of what those are so that you make the choices and make the commitment to the things that are along your purposeful path right now, and that you do it in a way that you can actually bring it all the way through, because Saturn will make you bump up against your limitations. Years ago, when I had my yoga center, Yoga and Beyond, I was in this place of, I was up against my limits. I was trying to do way too much on my own, and Saturn taught me a big lesson about that. In fact, I was very much in my shadow side of Saturn, and I was in another aspect that we have to be very careful of, which is over responsibility. And I had taken on too much responsibility, and it was like this heavy burden I couldn't bear any longer. And when I really understood what was going on there, that's because the traumas I had early in life about me having to do everything on my own, having to be very independent because I didn't get the support in my life. So we all have a story, we all have a trauma, we all have a pattern, okay? And Saturn will bring you face to face with those patterns by continuing to put the pressure on, pressure in limitations, and it also will help you to become very humble when you face your limitations. Saturn always wants you to focus on what's purposeful, what's meaningful, and can be a little bit on the serious side, so make sure you keep some levity in your life. The energy is going to, over the next 3 years, and especially this year, is going to really support you in this focus. And so you're going to want to, okay? Just think about a great project that you've ever worked on and you wanted to put the time in, you wanted to put the energy in, even if it was long hours at times, because you were inspired about it. And that's why it's crucial that you choose something and get very clear on what you're inspired about. We've had a couple of years of where Saturn was and Jupiter about really, having a lot of inspirations, but now it's time to, bring it down here onto the earthly plane. So another thing Saturn will do is help you to understand what your priorities are, because in order for you to put some focus and really channel some focus into something, whether it's for your business, again, or for your relationships, your health, your healing, whatever it may be for your wealth, you may have to give up some other things in order to put the priority, have the energy, again, our limitations, into one area. And Saturn will show you your priorities. So if you're not sure what they are, don't worry, because Saturn will, again, bring those up for you where you need to make choices. And sometimes, we do have to give less time to one area. I know when I was writing my book, I didn't have time to clean my house. I was working with my clients. I was writing my book, and I really didn't have time for a lot other than that. And I knew that going in, so I built the support on the back end to support me, and also some things that didn't matter very much, I just let sort of fall to the wayside, knowing I'd have time afterwards to pick them up. We only have so much bandwidth. Now, Saturn also is incredible at shattering our illusions. And I know that doesn't sound very sexy, but shattering your illusions are the things that you think are true. Saturn will put them under pressure, like the earth does to a stone to create a fine gem. It puts it under pressure. And if it's really a gem, it's going to be cut and faceted and just so precious and valuable. And if it's not, it'll get crushed to dust. The things you're believing that are not truths for yourself, even more so, are going to be put under pressure. And that pressure will prove them to be true, or it'll crush them to dust. So that will enable you to free yourself of false illusions, bring yourself back to the truth, and make choices that are more in alignment for your purpose, for where you're going in the world and how you can best serve. So Saturn is an incredible clarifier in that way. It also is here to bring things into a practical, grounded form. Again, inspiration is great, but Saturn walks with a foot in both worlds. And because of that, is incredibly spiritual, because knows that this world is passing and we can't take it with us, but at the same time, we have to live full out here. Like this is give it our all as if we could take it with us. So it's a real fine balance. So the three archetypes in the sacred wealth system that represent Saturn are the administrator, which I have the archetypes behind me right here, and the organizer, and then the advocate as well. And because Saturn's an amazing administrative leader where it can see what needs to happen for the whole, for the group, for the community, and for us all now, for the collective, and be able to lead and ask people to do what they need to do and be in their gifts in order to lead the mission, lead the call. And that's personal for each one of us and collective together. The great organizer knows in order to bring an inspiration down, we have got to get down to the details. We've got to do some organization around that and bring it into practical form. The other thing we're going to notice with Saturn, two more things that are really big here, which is the pressure of time. You will feel this in relationship to what it is that you are committing to. And if you don't know what you are committing to yet, I want you to get really clear about that, because if you don't get clear about what is the main thing that and we're at the beginning of the year right now, and hopefully you've done some visioning, and if not, you can also grab my 2020 visioning package. The link is down below. About what it is that you're, creating that time pressure. Saturn does that so that we, have some urgency to things. And at the same time, you don't want to be under the guise of that time pressure so much that it makes you paralyzed. Because on the shadow side, Saturn and Saturn's archetypes are the inner critic. We all get to face the inner critic, that voice in your ear telling you how you're not doing what you should be doing and that what you're doing isn't right or the right way. That part of you needs to go on a major vacation, but that's the inner critic, and that's what will show up when you're in the shadow side. Also will show up the energy of perfectionism. Because of those details, we have to really be careful of perfectionism. Better to do it and move through things and keep a flow going, and we can always go back and tidy up things if we need to, then get paralyzed and stuck in perfectionism. So if you have perfectionism, and that's something I have to battle, then what will happen is you will end up procrastinating. Now you've got time pressure big time, because then you're into overwhelm, because now you've got this log jam behind you. So this is another piece of Saturn. Now I know these sound like challenges, but at the same time, they're here to teach us and where to put our attention and help us prioritize and help us be responsible in the right ways. So responsibility, this is another big one. So I talked about that a little bit because I got stuck in that, especially with my yoga center. But here's the thing, and the story of my yoga center is in the beginning of my book. Responsibility. If you take responsibility, then you're at choice. Now, responsibility has a real bad rap, and I'll do a whole thing on responsibility, but not today. But here's what I want you to know. It teaches you what's yours and what's not yours. So if you're carrying responsibility for others that really aren't your responsibility, you're going to be weighed down. You're going to feel your limitations, right? It's important to put the responsibilities down that are not yours. So if you feel burdened, if you're complaining, if you're trying to work on what you're committed to and you can't because you're carrying other people's responsibilities, or within the project or whatever you're birthing, that you are trying to do it all alone and you haven't gotten any support, you are going to feel, again, those limitations. But I want you to flourish in this. I want you to be able to focus. There's that pain and pleasure of focus. And Saturn is so good at getting us to get in quiet with our meditations, but also honing our attention so we can go deep and focus on something. And that's where our soul really speaks to us, whether we're writing, whether we're, creating, whether we're making a program, whether we're working on a marketing strategy, whether we are working on, healing ourselves, whether we're just getting present in our daily lives. And that's where this all happens for us. That's where all the magic happens. So when you know what's truly yours, one of my teachers has a great story. He always says that if you get on a train and you meet somebody wonderful on that train and you're having the wonderful time and you go back to get your baggage and they do theirs. And if they're carrying more than 2 bags, they're going to ask you to carry some of their baggage. And you can't. You only have room for 2 bags yourself. So it's really important you don't carry other people's baggage. This is one of the places you take on too much responsibility. If you're not asking for support, if you're not asking for help, if you don't think you deserve support, if you don't feel worthy, these are patterns that need to be cleared. You need to work with that and clear that out. And I work with that with my clients so that you can take appropriate responsibility, because responsibility gives you choice. If you say, that's mine, I'm responsible for that, then you can make a different choice about it. So responsibility is actually much sexier than you think. So Saturn can be serious. And so we need to have that levity. And you'll need to have that alone time to focus on some things. But you'll have to be careful of feeling a little too isolated, because Saturn can really create this feeling of isolation, specifically around what you're committed to. So make sure you set that up so that you have community. Super important to have community, accountability partners, that you have, you're not going it alone, because you'll end up being depressed. And we don't want that for you, and isolated. So you need to stay plugged into communities, to teaching that really lights you up and keeps you present and in your gifts. Saturn will always deliver for you in the long run. So whatever you're going to commit to, you want to first tune into what that is. And if you're curious about it, a few different things you've been tossing around, you really need to get clear on what it is that you really want to work on and bring forward in the next couple of years here. Super important. And then make the commitment like you'd make the commitment to someone, which means that you're going to do what it takes, but you're also going to set your priorities so that you have the space, the time, you've got community, you've got accountability, you have connection, and you also have some fun built into your life, so that you're not all work and no play, and that you're not all confusion and feeling that pressure of, oh my gosh, I really do need to do something, because that's what Saturn's going to be doing. So then you need your clarity. You need to get a really clear vision of where you're going and what it's time for you to birth. What are those inspirations for you to birth? So I got lots of links down below that'll help you out with any of these things, so you can check those out. Saturn liberates you, wants you to actually be free of this world, live fully in both. I will also create another update, which will talk specifically about Saturn and how it'll affect each ascendant. And of course, you can book a reading to go into that stuff much more deeply. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, share, like, click the bell notification. So much love to you. It's an extraordinary time, and every single one of your choices matter.